In this demonstration, we're going to show you how to use the Facebow with the Enzo Articulator. In order to duplicate the bite registration taken by the doctor, we've implemented a bubble level on the corner edge of the Facebow to ensure accuracy in horizontal and vertical placement. Here's how it works. First, set the articulator on a relatively flat surface and make sure that the top assembly is somewhat flat and leveled. Then, make sure that your vertical stop is touching the assembly and tighten it in place. From this point on, until the top model is articulated, the top assembly must be touching the vertical stop. This will ensure that the articulation remains set. To secure this a bit, just tighten the two top knobs, and that will create some resistance so that it remains in place and ensures that they are touching. Next, we raise the vertical rods temporarily which gives us some room to work. Now, to get started, we take the top model and glue on the plastic disposable. Score the model first for more retention, and if the female should come off, the grooves will allow you to glue it back on in the same position. Once you've glued on the plastic, just slip it right onto the male and secure it. After this, take the Facebow and your bite registration and snap it in place. Make sure that it's fully inserted. Now you're ready. Put your bite and the Facebow in position. Again, you'll want to stay down and make sure that you're touching the vertical stop with the top assembly. Now, loosen up the top assembly, and this will give you total mobility. Before you tighten the top assembly, make absolutely sure that the bubble level is dead center, like so. Once you see that the level is centered, hold the model in place with one hand and use your other hand to tighten the top assembly. Notice how simple that was. We've just articulated the top model to the Facebow according to the doctor's bite registration. You can now take it off. Make sure that it is secured in place, and as you notice here, our top assembly is in contact with the vertical stop. Once in place, there is no need to touch it. Now, we are ready to do the lower. Take the plastic female and slip it onto the lower male, which is not yet glued to the model. Then we loosen the knobs on the vertical rods so that the model and the articulator has the freedom to move up and down. Notice how it stays in place with the horizontal and vertical remaining unaltered. Now, remove the model and hold the two models together. This is so that we can apply sticky wax in order to hold it in place while we articulate the lower model. The reason for doing this is that it makes it a bit easier to articulate while trying to set the bite in place on the articulator with both hands, which would normally be difficult to maneuver. Apply just enough wax to secure the models in place. Allow a few seconds for the wax to cool off. Now that this is done, carefully slip it back onto the articulator and lock it in place. Once this is done, hold it firmly with one hand and loosen the lower assembly, like so. This shows why it's necessary to tack it with sticky wax. It acts as a third hand during this process. Hold the models in place against the lower plastic while making sure the vertical stop is in position. Then tighten the knobs on the vertical rods along with the lower assembly. It is now articulated. Once this is done, you can then glue the model to the plastic disposable, like so. After the glue dries, you are free to remove the sticky wax. Notice how clean this is. No need to use messy plaster. You also have the freedom to remove it and set it back in place perfectly at will. For lateral excursion, just loosen the top knobs a bit and adjust freely. The top model is perfectly articulated according to the doctor's bite registration. It's fast, it's clean, it's the Enzo Articulator.